Most men of God preach about sacrifice, about seed sowing, about giving until it hurts. And then the service ends, the cameras go off, and the convoy pulls out of the parking lot. What pulls out is not modest. We are talking about Rolls-Royces, Ferraris, Bentleys, and fleets so extensive that some of these pastors could stock a showroom without repeating a model. Some of these acquisitions were filmed, shared, and went viral before the congregation even knew they existed. Others stayed hidden behind gated compounds and private driveways, invisible to the very people funding them. Stay until the end, because number 1 is carrying a combined valuation that puts every other entry on this list in second place. Number 10, Pastor Chris Oyakhilome. Chris Oyakhilome founded Christ Embassy in Lagos in the early 1990s and built it into one of the most globally distributed Pentecostal ministries on the continent, with operations across the UK, Canada, South Africa, and beyond. The ministry's media arm, Love World Networks, runs multiple television channels broadcasting his content around the clock. The financial infrastructure behind that reach is significant, and the vehicles attached to his personal profile reflect that scale. A video once trended on social media showing the landscape view of his arrival at church on a Sunday. Personal convoy documented in arrival footage includes Bentleys, Mercedes G-Wagon, and Range Rovers, a fleet that moves in formation at church events and crusades. None of these is an entry-level luxury purchase. A new Bentley Continental GT starts above $220,000. A Mercedes G-Wagon sits above $140,000 in standard specification. A Range Rover in top trim exceeds $170,000. What appears in the convoy footage is not a single acquisition. It is a coordinated collection of vehicles that together represent a combined valuation running well into 7 figures. This is not occasional footage of a pastor arriving at a special event. It is a recurring visual across multiple services and appearances, a consistent presentation of automotive wealth that has become inseparable from his public identity. The Bentley Continental GT alone is powered by a 6.0-liter twin-turbocharged W12 engine producing 626 horsepower, finished in handcrafted wood veneers and diamond-stitched leather inside a cabin that Bentley describes as a moving work of art. The G-Wagon that follows it behind carries a starting price above $140,000 for what is effectively a military-derived vehicle that has been reimagined as a luxury object. The Range Rover behind that starts above $170,000. None of these vehicles is an exception in this convoy. They are the standard. Meanwhile, the less privileged congregation are always invited to give toward a transformation that the vehicles outside suggest has already arrived, at least for the man at the front of the building. Number 9 owns 2 vehicles. One of them you would expect from a pastor of his profile. The other one sits at $460,000 and comes with a glass panel in the dashboard where you can commission your own personal artwork to be displayed while you drive. Number 9, Pastor Daniel Obenam. Daniel Obenam of International God's Way Church in Ghana is one of West Africa's most recognizable charismatic figures, and the vehicle holdings attached to his ministry sit comfortably within the premium tier of pastoral acquisitions on this list. The confirmed collection includes a Rolls-Royce Phantom and a Range Rover Vogue. The Rolls-Royce Phantom 8 carries a base price of approximately $460,000, making it the flagship model in the Rolls-Royce lineup and one of the most expensive production saloons available anywhere in the world. The hand-stitched interior, the gallery dashboard that can be commissioned to house personal artworks behind a glass panel, and the coach doors that open rear first are not features that exist on any other vehicle at any price. The Range Rover Vogue, which sits at the top of the Land Rover range, starts at approximately $120,000 in current specification. Together, these two vehicles represent a combined acquisition cost approaching $580,000 at base pricing before import duties are factored into the Ghanaian luxury market, where costs for vehicles of this category typically run significantly above international retail. The Phantom's 6.75-liter twin-turbocharged V12 produces 563 horsepower, while returning an interior so quiet that Rolls-Royce engineers had to artificially reintroduce road noise to prevent drivers from losing their sense of speed entirely. The Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament alone is hand-finished at the Goodwood factory, and every panel on the exterior is hand-painted through a process that takes 5 days to complete. The Range Rover Vogue, which is always parked alongside it, is a vehicle that most people would consider extraordinary on its own. It functions in this context as the understated companion piece. A vehicle at that combined price point does not appear in a pastor's possession by accident. It appears that a financial structure exists that makes it possible, and that structure is built from the giving of people who were told their generosity would transform their own circumstances first. Obi Neem has also been a recurring subject of public controversy in Ghana, with documented incidents involving his ministry that generated significant media coverage and raised questions about the financial operations supporting his lifestyle. Number 8 is technically a pop star who became a pastor, and the car he drives reflects exactly which identity won. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 99% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Number 8. Pastor Chris Okotie. Chris Okotie arrived in Nigerian public life as a pop musician in the 1980s before transitioning into ministry, and he carried the aesthetic sensibility of that earlier career directly into his pastoral identity. The wardrobe is deliberate, the personal presentation is studied, the vehicle attached to that presentation is, by any measure, one of the most exclusive automotive acquisitions on this entire list. Okotie owns a 2019 Rolls-Royce Wraith in bespoke edition specification. The bespoke program at Rolls-Royce is not a trim level or an options package. It is a commission process in which the Goodwood factory builds a vehicle to a single individual's specification, selecting materials, finishes, color combinations, and interior configurations that do not exist anywhere else in the world. A bespoke Rolls-Royce is a one-of-a-kind acquisition by definition, and the pricing reflects that accordingly. The base Rolls-Royce Wraith Coupe begins above $330,000 before any bespoke specification is applied. By the time the commission process is complete, the final cost is typically a figure that only a small number of people globally are in a position to consider. Okotie has also run 3 presidential campaigns in Nigeria, which tells you something about the financial confidence that surrounds his public profile beyond the ministry itself. The bespoke commission process at Rolls-Royce begins with a dedicated design consultation at the Goodwood factory, where a client selects from materials that are not available anywhere else in the automotive world. Leathers sourced from specific farms in Northern Europe where cattle are raised in conditions designed to minimize skin blemishes, wood veneers matched from a single tree for grain continuity, and paint mixed in batches unique to one order. The bespoke commission is not just an expensive car. It is a statement that standard options were not considered sufficient. Still with us? Good, because number 7 recently showed up to a university in a vehicle so visually distinctive that even his existing Rolls-Royce fleet did not prepare anyone for it. Number 7. Pastor David Ibiyomi. David Ibiyomi of Salvation Ministries in Port Harcourt has built one of the largest congregations in southern Nigeria, with a main auditorium that regularly fills to capacity and a ministry footprint that extends across multiple locations. The financial output of that congregation over the decades is visible most clearly in the vehicle collection attached to his personal profile. The fleet includes multiple Rolls-Royce variants across different model lines, not one Rolls-Royce. Multiple, in different specifications, representing different chapters of acquisition. The Cullinan, Rolls-Royce's only SUV, starts above $350,000 and features a 6.75-liter twin-turbo V12, an interior finished in the finest available leathers, and what Rolls-Royce calls the Magic Carpet Ride suspension system. This is a self-leveling air suspension that the brand claims produces a sensation of gliding rather than driving. Each of his individual vehicles in the collection carries a base acquisition cost that begins above $50,000 before import duties are applied in the Nigerian market, where the luxury premium adds considerably to the international retail figure. The most recent and most discussed addition to the collection is a Tesla Cybertruck. The Cybertruck retails at between $60,000 and $100,000 in the United States, depending on specification, but carries significantly higher costs in the Nigerian import market, where duties push the final figure well above its base price. What generated the conversation was not the cost. It was the footage of Ibiyomi driving it personally to a university. The dramatic entrance, captured on video and widely circulated on social media, showed the pastor stepping out of the futuristic electric vehicle amid heavy security and a large crowd on the university field. The Cybertruck at a university gate is a different kind of statement than a Rolls-Royce at a church entrance. One signals inherited prosperity gospel wealth. The other is a hint that his car collection is still actively growing, still seeking new additions, and that no level of existing acquisition has yet felt sufficient to stop. Coming up at number 6 is a pastor who sold a Rolls-Royce on national television, donated the money, and then explained on camera why owning one in the first place was never actually the problem. Number 6. Pastor Creflo Dollar. Creflo Dollar founded World Changers Church International in College Park, Georgia in 1986, with 8 members in a school cafeteria. By the time his ministry reached full scale, the congregation numbered in the tens of thousands, and the financial infrastructure supporting it had grown to match, generating reported revenues of $69 million in a single year. The automotive holdings that became publicly documented include a Rolls-Royce Phantom Drophead Coupe, valued at approximately $462,000. The Drophead Coupe is the convertible variant of the Phantom, a 2-door open-top vehicle with a 6.75-liter V12 engine capable of reaching 60 miles per hour in 5.8 seconds, and a navy blue mohair soft top that takes 17 layers of hand finishing to complete. A second Rolls-Royce was also part of the confirmed collection. Beyond the vehicles, Dollar's asset portfolio includes a $2.4 million Manhattan apartment, a 182-acre estate in Fayetteville, Georgia, and a Gulfstream G650 private jet that reportedly cost $65 million, making it one of the most expensive private aircraft available to civilian buyers anywhere in the world. In 2008, Dollar stated publicly on ABC Nightline that he had sold one of the Rolls-Royces and donated the proceeds. He then added on national television that there was nothing wrong with having a car that members of his church bought for him. That sentence is the one worth examining. The vehicles were not framed as personal purchases drawn from pastoral income. They were framed as gifts from a congregation that had been taught that giving to the pastor was a form of giving to God. Number 5 has a net worth of approximately $20 million. The Rolls-Royce is documented. What makes the entry interesting is what the rest of the financial picture says about how a pastor's wealth is supposed to be made. Number 5. Bishop T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes built the Potter's House in Dallas, Texas, into one of the largest and most influential megachurches in the United States, with a congregation that at its peak drew 30,000 weekly attendees. His reach extends well beyond Sunday services through book sales, film production via TDJ Enterprises, and speaking engagements that place him in a category of American pastors who operate more like media executives than local ministers. The vehicle collection documented in connection with his name includes a 2022 Rolls-Royce Phantom,
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
a Bentley Continental G. The Phantom Rolls-Royce's flagship production saloon carries a starting price above $460,000. The Bentley Continental GT begins at above $220,000 in its current specification. Together, they represent a combined acquisition cost approaching $700,000 at base pricing. What distinguishes Jakes from several other entries on this list is that his wealth draws from multiple secular income streams alongside the ministry, including TDJ Enterprises, which has produced feature films distributed through major studios, and a publishing catalog that has sold millions of copies internationally. The vehicle collection exists within that broader financial picture. The Rolls-Royce Phantom he drives starts above $460,000 and arrives from the factory with a 6.75-liter twin-turbocharged V12, a cabin hand-stitched across 460 hours of production, and what Rolls-Royce calls the gallery fascia, a glass-enclosed display case running the full width of the dashboard that can be commissioned to house anything from artwork to sculptural objects of the owner's choosing. The Bentley Continental GT alongside it adds a second tier of luxury at above $220,000 with a handcrafted interior that Bentley takes over 100 hours to complete by hand at their Crewe factory. Now, number 4 is the only pastor on this list who was robbed on a live stream. The jewelry the thieves took was worth an estimated $1 million. The Rolls-Royce outside was untouched. Number 4, Bishop Lamore Whitehead. Lamore Whitehead of Brooklyn, New York, built an identity so thoroughly fused with luxury that his nickname preceded his theology. The Bling Bishop, Gucci suits, multiple layers of jewelry valued collectively at figures that belong in insurance documents, and parked outside Leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries in Brooklyn's Canarsie neighborhood, a Rolls-Royce that had become as recognizable as the man wearing the chains. In July 2022, 3 armed men walked into the ministry during a live Sunday service and robbed Whitehead at gunpoint, while his congregation watched in person and thousands more watched on the live stream. Police estimated the stolen jewelry at approximately $1 million. The itemized list of stolen items included a $390,000 chain and a $125,000 watch. Prosecutors subsequently charged Whitehead with convincing a parishioner to hand over $90,000 of her retirement savings, money she believed was going toward a real estate investment that would benefit her financially. According to the indictment, the funds were spent on designer clothing, luxury goods, and car payments. In March 2024, Whitehead was convicted on 5 counts, including wire fraud and extortion. He was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison. The Rolls-Royce, the jewelry, and the lifestyle were not assembled from pastoral income alone. They were assembled from a financial structure that a federal jury found to be fraudulent. In March 2024, Whitehead was convicted on 5 counts and sentenced to 9 years in federal prison. The Bling Bishop and the Rolls-Royce exist in the same story. They always did. Now, for the pastor who's at number 3. His congregation did not buy him just one Rolls-Royce. Instead, several arrived as gifts, presented publicly, on camera, framed as offerings to God. Number 3. Bishop David Oyedepo. David Oyedepo is the wealthiest pastor on the African continent, with a net worth estimated at between $150 million and $200 million. The 530-acre Canaan land compound in Ota, Ogun State functions as a private city containing a university, multiple schools, housing for over 15,000 permanent residents, banks, and a private airstrip. The vehicle collection sits inside that picture as one line among many, but it is a line worth reading carefully. The most documented acquisition is a 2023 Rolls-Royce Cullinan Black Badge specification. The Cullinan Black Badge carries a starting MSRP of $401,500, with final costs running significantly higher, depending on bespoke interior selections and finish upgrades. The Black Badge designation was created by Rolls-Royce specifically for clients who wanted the brand's power without its traditional restraint. The output of the 6.75-liter twin-turbocharged V12 is raised to 591 horsepower. The exterior receives darkened finishes throughout, mirror black exhaust surrounds, and a shadowed Spirit of Ecstasy that sits lower and darker than the standard chrome version. Inside, the Black Badge specification replaces the conventional instrument dials with illuminated controls and adds a darker, more aggressive color palette across the hand-stitched leather surfaces. It is, by design, the version of the Cullinan built for people who want it known that they chose the more assertive option at an already assertive price point. Multiple Cullinans have arrived in Oyedepo's possession over the years as gifts from members and associates, presented publicly and documented on camera. Within prosperity theology, presenting a vehicle to a leading pastor is framed as a spiritual act that generates a return for the giver. The Cullinan Black Badge is the most precisely documented vehicle in that transaction, and at $401,500 before customization, it is a number that makes the transaction very concrete. Number 2 is different from everything before it. One pastor, 4 vehicles, 2 different supercar brands, and an unwrapping video on Instagram that was not accidental content. It was a production. Number 2, Pastor Toby Adegboyega. Toby Adegboyega of Spiak Nation in London built his ministry around young people, urban communities, and a visual identity that was never incidental to the brand. The aesthetic was always the point. The clothing, the settings, the vehicles, and the content around all of it were constructed with a deliberateness that most ministries never bring to their public presentation. The collection is specific and documented. A Lamborghini Urus, currently priced from approximately $230,000 upward in UK specification. A Lamborghini Aventador, a naturally aspirated V12 supercar with a production price above $400,000. A Ferrari SF90 Stradale.
For look at your apartment. I can guess say you stay with your mommy and daddy at 35.
A hybrid hypercar with a base price of $524,814, 986 horsepower, and a production allocation that most buyers wait years to receive. To put individual entries in that figure into perspective, the Ferrari SF90 Stradale is a plug-in hybrid hypercar producing 986 horsepower from a combination of a twin turbocharged V8 and 3 electric motors. It accelerates from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds. Ferrari allocated production so tightly that buyers in many markets waited years simply to be given the opportunity to purchase one. The Lamborghini Aventador itself is powered by a naturally aspirated 6.5-liter V12 engine, producing 769 horsepower, with a sound that Lamborghini engineers spent years developing as a signature acoustic experience. The supercar drive videos posted regularly show Toby behind the wheel of his Lamborghini or Ferrari, often with luxury shopping bags or footage of expensive restaurant meals. These videos blur the line between ministry content and lifestyle blogging.
Good evening, guys. I'm in church tonight with the chief priest himself. Church.
Critics call Toby one of the most blatant examples of prosperity gospel excess in the UK. Media outlets have run exposés questioning how a relatively young pastor with a modest congregation accumulated such wealth. Toby's responses typically point to business ventures and divine favor rather than church funds. There have also been reports that he faced deportation proceedings and lost an appeal. However, he and his representatives have disputed claims that he had already been deported. Finally, we get number 1, a pastor who owns 3 Rolls-Royces, a Porsche, a Bentley, and a combined valuation that makes every other collection on this list look like it was still warming up. Number 1, Pastor Biodun Fatoyinbo. Biodun Fatoyinbo of the Commonwealth of Zion Assembly in Abuja built one of Nigeria's most visually polished and culturally influential ministries, and the vehicle fleet attached to his personal profile reflects the same deliberate approach to image that defines everything else about COZA's public presentation. The confirmed collection of the cars he owns is a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. A Rolls-Royce Phantom 8, a Rolls-Royce Ghost, a Porsche 911, and a Bentley Bentayga.
This is the epitome of luxury SUV. The headlight.
3 Rolls-Royces from 3 different points in the range, plus a German sports car and a British luxury SUV. That is not a vehicle collection. That is a portfolio, and it is curated with the same intentionality that COZA applies to everything else that carries the ministry's name into the public. Every Rolls-Royce in that collection marks a different tier of the same brand. The Ghost is the entry point, starting above $330,000. The Cullinan is the SUV variant, above $350,000. The Phantom 8 sits at the top, around $460,000. Add the Bentley Bentayga at roughly $200,000, and the Porsche 911, which ranges from $115,000 to $230,000, depending on the specification Fatoyinbo chose. And the conservative total already clears $1.5 million before factoring in Nigeria's luxury import premium, which pushes real costs well above international retail. The actual number is higher than the math suggests, and it all belongs to a pastor in Abuja. What earns this collection the top spot isn't the price tag alone, it's the consistency. These cars show up in Instagram posts, convoy footage, and church arrival videos so often that they've stopped being surprising. They've simply become the COZA aesthetic, rendered in steel, leather, and horsepower. Fatoyinbo built COZA into a ministry that speaks directly to Nigeria's young professional class. Every part of it, the service design, the branding, the communication style, targets people who see themselves as aspirational, who believe they're headed somewhere, and who want a church that reflects that future rather than their past. The fleet parked outside isn't incidental, it's part of the message. It tells the congregation exactly what arrival is supposed to look like. COZA faced significant, well-documented controversy in 2019. The vehicles were there before it, through it, and after it. A collection this size doesn't need a scandal to justify its existence. It needs a decision, made deliberately and repeated with every vehicle added to that driveway. 10 pastors, 10 collections. And the one thing none of these vehicles shares with the sermons preached from the buildings they park outside is the price tag. The congregations that filled those buildings gave what they had. What they could not always see was what their giving looked like when it drove out of the parking lot, past the people still standing at the bus stop, and onto a private road that none of them would ever need directions to. These are not just cars. They are the most visible line in a financial structure that most members of these ministries were never shown the full picture of. And if you want to understand how that structure works, that is exactly what the next video covers. Check out our next video title of next video. The numbers will tell you more than anything parked in these driveways. See you there.